Good morning, everyone. Emotional loneliness. How present is it in your life? Do you have someone that you can just share anything with at any time and feel accepted and safe and all of that? Because if you don't, you most likely experience emotional loneliness, which is what most of us in this world experience. Emotional loneliness. The other way to be emotionally connected is to know what you feel and have the ability to communicate that and have someone else know how to receive your communication. So that is what we're going to talk about today. I went most of my life without having emotional connections. Very functional adult, good mom in the fact that I took care of, the physical needs, fed, shelter, protection, as much as I could physically, but I didn't have emotional availability, nor did I have emotional connection. In fact, what I had a lot was emotional dissociation. I can stay really present, watching kids play, physically present, but emotionally be completely withdrawn. That's how my mom was with me, bless her heart, I love her. And so that's what I thought adulting was. So good morning. Today we are going to talk about emotional maturity, emotional availability, and why it matters so much. And then we're going to practice a little bit about that. I'm Ann Ferguson. This is Leaning In with Ann. This is a walk and talk that I do on weekday mornings. So I'm going to invite you right now to go get, if you haven't done it yet, put on some walking shoes, get on your treadmill, dust it off, lay down on a yoga mat, do some leg lifts or some crunches, and exercise while I exercise. And let's do a thing today. I grew up, like most of us did, with emotionally unavailable parents. They weren't physically unavailable. I had, in general, I had what I needed. We had food and water and a roof over our heads, and I even got to go to dance lessons, and I had a bike, and I got, basics met. We weren't super rich, but I had all my basics met, and I was alone. Not just physically alone, but emotionally alone. I wasn't involved in the drugs that my brothers were involved in, so my parents just kind of left me alone and go, oh, Ann's got it. Ann's okay. Ann's a champ. She doesn't need us. You're such a good daughter. And so I believed that everything I did, I had to do alone so that I didn't burden anybody else. And there's some pretty big, scary things that happen when you grow up, right? And I didn't have anyone who I could run and climb up on a lap with or sit down and go, hey, Dad, I'm scared about this. Could you help me? So it's no wonder that today I triggered into that, right? That aloneness, that panic, that feeling like I had screwed up, but I didn't even know what I did wrong. Not knowing how to handle something that is really big and beyond me. It's kind of like going into the adult world when you're a kid. I don't know, do you remember when somebody asked you to make your first doctor's appointment? You're like, but that's what moms do. And you had to be an adult and do it. It felt awkward and kind of scary. I remember the moment. I remember watching my kids have that moment where they were scared to do the big thing. And I would stand with them and actually kind of just said, get over it. Do it, instead of coaching them through what it would be like and how to set the appointment. And I wasn't kind. It was just like what I did. Suck it up. I sucked it up. You suck it up. Just get it done. This is what's called adulting. You're going to have to face things that you don't like to do, so just do it with absolutely no acknowledgement that it's scary to do big things sometimes. So what happened was I shut down feeling, because if I let myself feel scared, I couldn't make myself do what I needed to do. And so rather than talking myself through it and go, you know what, it's totally okay that you're scared. You've never done this big thing before. And so you don't know what it is, so the unknown is kind of uncomfortable, and you feel unstable. And when you don't have anybody behind you showing you what to do, that can feel really lonely and scary. Yeah, I can see why you're feeling that way. I didn't give myself permission to go through that. So I just felt scared a lot. That's what a lot of anxiety is, actually. It's the fear of the unknown. And it's also the fear that there's nobody beside you who has got you when and if you feel scared and alone. It's not my parents' fault. They were raised by people who came out of World War II. And there was a whole generation that went into PTSD. You know, there were these women who didn't know when they kissed their loved ones goodbye if they would ever return. They would have panic at every knock on the door, worrying that it would be the person with the letter and the telegram coming to tell you. They had to leave children and go into the workforce. Kids were left alone. Moving to cities separated people out of their family dynamics of moms and aunts and uncles and all sorts of things. Lots of things happened due to World War II. And the people who were my grandparents, they learned this thing that happens when you're in a war zone and PTSD, and that is stop feeling, don't be aware of any response that your nervous system is having right now. Deny the fact that your nervous system is telling you anything and just get going. And by the way, obey your commanding officer and do not ask questions. That means don't be curious even to yourself. Just listen and obey. Listen and obey. They taught my parents how to listen and obey. Not their fault. War is awful. We kind of got at this moment of safety, this feeling of safety, where everything was okay and it was going to be all right back in 2000. And then 2001, the world changed and nothing was safe anymore. I lived in the Washington, D.C. area. 9/11, drove by the Pentagon while it was in flames. My ex-husband had called me in the morning and said, "Have you seen what's going on?" I said, "No, I don't. I just got the kids to school." He says, "The country is under attack. I've got to secure the senator. I'm going dark. And I'll talk to you later." And he hung up the phone. He worked in the U.S. Senate with a senator, and I didn't know if he was going to be dead or alive. Like, as I watched the news, all the horror and the panic of my own personal life, not just the country, was part of my experience. I watched barricades go up, so I couldn't drive next to the Senate building where he could look outside and me pick him up anymore. It was all barricaded off where I couldn't even get near the building anymore. I watched the airports change, and we weren't safe anymore, right? And that's part of the terrorism stuff. It's not just people. The big bully, the ultimate enemy, doesn't want us to feel. Well, why is that? It's because if we're feeling, God can't reach us. Because he talks to our hearts. And when he tries to say everything's okay, the bully gets in and goes, "No, it's not. It's scary. Don't think. Don't feel. Go numb." The only way to be a good adult is to be numb. There's too much tragedy. And yet the reality is we don't ever stop feeling. So feelings are just emotional. They're just nervous system sensations in our body that are teamed with events, and our body starts to vibrate. And if it's a lower vibration, it's uncomfortable and we don't like it. If it's a higher vibration, we lean into it, except that the bully tells us, don't actually enjoy that, because bam, you're going to get wiped out, and you can't trust that because the bad stuff is coming, so do not have any joy whatsoever. Have you ever heard, wait for the other shoe to drop? It's because there's a lie that says, Don't experience the good because the bad is coming. And it really should be, you know, be aware of the bad and enjoy every good thing that comes. Wouldn't that be better? So, igniting your belief is a relationship, connection, and communication course. And it helps sort out all sorts of relationships and the communication that lies within that. One of the things is the communication with God and connection to Him. And one of those things is to actually look around every day and capture what is good and right in your world in the moment. So I've still got this big thing that I have to deal with. And I can deny it and pretend like it doesn't exist. That's not healthy. Or I can go, I see you. You're on the shelf over there. Right now I'm doing a walk and talk, and so I can't actually deal with what's going on over there. But what I can do is take this minute, and breathe in some joy. I'll tell you what that looks like. Right now, the sun is coming at an angle into my eye. I don't know what it is about the sun coming in at an angle, but it is an immediate trigger of some kind of weird happiness in me. Like, it's not just the straight on stuff. It's like this sideways, it's coming, the light's coming this way. It's part of the reason why I like morning walks, is because I get that. And if I'm able to recognize it and go, yeah, it's cold. Fingers are kind of stinging. But I've got that light, and I actually feel kind of happy right now. I'm going to breathe that happiness in, and I'm going to let it sit in my body and say, hey, body, this feeling is safe. I'm going to experience it fully. And later today, I may have something that I might be sad about. But I've kept myself above water by going, right now, in this moment, right here, at this park, the sun is on my face. My body is moving. I love the feeling of the exercise. And I'm okay. I'm safe and I'm okay. Whew. So what happens is that our body gets really used to the vibrations that we feel. Emotions generate vibrations, right? If you don't believe me that your body doesn't respond to emotion, just think for a minute about when you get pulled over. Does your body do a thing? Because mine does, man. It floods. I get confused in my head. I get fumbly with trying to get my stuff out. I'm panicked that I've been caught and I'm wrong. I mean, all sorts of emotional things happen when I get pulled over, right? How about you? That's just the body showing you that there's an emotion, and the body actually can signal to you first that there is an emotion that needs to be considered and get curious about. Wow, why do I feel like I'm going to be killed right now? Why does everything feel like it's attacking me and is a predator? What is that about? So our emotions can tell us that something's going on. If we play in the negative of it, the fear, the worry, the dread, despair, betrayal, anger, anxiety, if we don't do anything ever to counter that, then our body gets so used to those vibrations that even though in our mind it's not comfortable, in our body it's completely familiar. And sometimes, no matter how happy we want to be, it's almost like there's a bouncer on our heart. We can't let it in. We can't let it in because our body is vibrating with something that's on a lower vibration than the good emotions. So me taking a minute, finding something that is lovely, something that lifts my soul, something that is happy, just breathing it in and telling my body, hey body, guess what? I want more of this emotion. This right here helps me feel super, super, super happy. in this moment. And right now, really, all I've got is this moment. The past has already happened. The future's not yet. And how I sit in my body can totally impact my future. If I'm going to believe that everything's going to go to crap, then my body vibrates with all the crap that's out there. If I believe that everything's going to work out for my good, and my body vibrates with what it feels like to believe, then things that come to help me out, I'm willing to see and receive. Just like I'm willing to see the beauty of today. So I just walked past and a bunch of birds just went, ch-ch-ch, you know that flutter sound? I love that flutter sound. How many times have I been so busy in my head that I don't even hear the flutter sound? This sounds so cool and I love. Right now, just listening in, got a bunch of birds chattering. When I was in Pennsylvania, we had so many trees that I used to sit outside and see if I could hear them call back and forth to each other. I loved listening to the birds. So right now, my body's safe. Right now, the sun is out. In this moment, it's okay. You can have walking meditations. You can think of what is positive and just breathe it in and go, hey, body, that emotion is what I love. Okay, so what happens is that emotion, memory is stored, by the way, by a big emotional experience teamed with an event, and it's stored in our body, brainstem, not in our consciousness a lot of times. So that's why it's so easy like this to retrieve negative emotions. It's because they were great big events. Do you know why it feels like nothing ever good happens? It's because as you're trying to search your memory, you have not taken the time to increase the intensity of the good emotion so that it stores as positive. Did you know that? That when somebody says, can you think of something good? It's like, no, I don't even have a memory of that. That's because you didn't take the minute to really, really expand the happiness and joy of that moment. Yesterday when my husband came home from England and I got that hug from him, rather than it be just, yeah, I'm supposed to hug him, he's supposed to hug me, hey, we're together, I actually took the moment and took a breath into that hug and go, oh, it feels so good to have his body next to mine again. Did the same thing while we were sleeping. And he travels 2 to 3 weeks out of the month. So that bed is empty a lot. And I could complain because the first night that he's there, I don't sleep very well because there's a lot more sound and movement that I notice and I don't sleep. I could be complaining about, gosh, when he comes home, I just don't sleep. Or I can go, I didn't stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning because I'm lonely in my bed and I just need to pass out like it's 10 o'clock and he's here and I just went to bed because I'm not alone. I'm just going to breathe in that man is right next to me. I like having somebody in my bed. You have a choice. You can choose the pissosity and the reality of yuck, or you can actually choose to see what's positive about this thing. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to pull out some emotions. I've got in the Igniting Your Belief class, again, it's a connection and communication relationships class. Relationship with you, relationship with God, relationship with others. And it straightens all the relationships out so that you are a wholly functional, healthy, mature being. How cool is that? We have what's called emotion jar strips. And in lesson 4, I teach this skill that I'm going to teach you today. I am going to pull an emotion. If you are watching this later, will you do me a favor? When I pull the emotion out, pause and comment. I would love to see these comments of these emotions and when we've had them. Now, you might feel a little bit vulnerable about sharing. Only share things that, is publicly acceptable to share, right? You don't have to go into the deep, dark recesses of your soul, and we're going to do positive emotions too. But this helps you connect in to what your body has experienced and brings it into consciousness so that you go, oh, this is what I'm feeling. And if you know what you're feeling, you can then communicate that to another human being. And now emotional loneliness isn't there because you know how to communicate appropriately. And I say appropriately because we don't have emotional vocabulary. We were never taught how to identify the nervous system sensations in our body. So we don't have vocabulary. So instead of sharing what we're feeling and communicating, we communicate like babies do. Slam the door, get quiet, just put your head down. Fuss. We call it being fussy in our house. We're fussy, and it's because we're showing what we feel, hoping that people will see and make it better, because that's what happens when you're a baby, right? You go fuss, and then the next thing you know, caregiver comes and takes it over and makes it right and settles your nervous system down, right? And those of you who fawn for a PTSD response, it's because your nervous system is in reaction, and you know that if you take care of somebody else's nervous system, then you're going to be okay. So we try to do everything that they need. Well, emotional regulation and emotional autonomy. Oh my gosh, emotional autonomy is great. That's what we're aiming for. So the only way to do that is for you to be aware of what you feel in your body. So that we're going to use your memory. We're going to go back. Are you ready? We don't have to touch into deep trauma stuff. No, we just need to become aware. All right. So I'm going to pull a word, and I'm going to read it, and I'm going to comment on when the last time I felt this emotion, so you can see how this works. And then you're going to comment on when's the last time. Ready? When is the last time? Ooh, I got to reverse my camera. When's the last time you felt responsible? When is the last time you felt responsible? Ooh, I know. Okay, so I was responsible for time. And responsible for my creation. I had decided that I wanted to go to the potluck that they had in the neighborhood. And I do not like to cook, you guys. But I decided early what I was going to do, and it was a crock pot dump kind of thing. And I was going to make it. I got all the ingredients. And as I walked to the potluck with something to share, I felt very responsible. We're trying to go into the past. When have you felt responsible? So what happens is I can go into that memory now of being responsible and like nailing it, like I had everything I need. People liked what I brought. And I can breathe that in now and go, that feeling of responsibility achieved. Instead of irresponsibility, showing up frazzled and late and like I couldn't get it done. I don't like that feeling. I love the feeling of like planning. Responsibility. I am going to sit in that. So what happens now is when there's another, hey, can you bring something? Instead of the frazzled, irresponsible feeling that would come up in me, I can ground this and go, oh, I could totally do this if I have time. Do I have time? But it's not an emotional trigger of negative. How cool is that? Ready? We're going to do another one. When's the last time you felt just relaxed? Absolutely just relaxed. Take a minute. Don't just identify the situation, but sit in the memory for a minute so that you can feel it. When's the last time you felt relaxed? So mine was yesterday. I do emotional resilience coaching training for a company. And one of the guys was overstimulated, way overstimulated from some bad crap that happened, and his wife yelling at him, and he was buzzing, and it was actually affecting his work. So he told his boss, and they said, hey, do you have any time? And I go, yep. I jumped in the car and I went over. And I taught him what it looks like to be, to do breath work. And I sat right next to him, and we did a 15-minute breathing session to reset his nervous system. He actually cried, you guys. It's like, I don't think I've ever felt this kind of peace. Like 15-minute reset for your nervous system. And as I was doing that, I just leaned in, so relaxed. It was so good. Okay, go into the memory of it. I'm gonna go back to that memory. I'm sitting in the break room on a couch next to him, and we've done the breathing exercise. We're kind of at the very end. And I felt so relaxed. Okay, ready? We're gonna do another one. Oh, these are all positive emotions today. When's the last time you felt proud? When is the last time you felt proud? This one's actually a hard one for me today. When is the last time I felt proud? Oh, it was yesterday too. It was actually yesterday. If you're watching this later, pause, comment. I'm going to do probably 3 more. Last time I felt proud was yesterday as I was driving away, knowing that I had helped this gentleman learn a skill and watched his whole body reset. And I went, I didn't know that I was going to do that. I had no clue. I sat down and was talking to him and going, oh, even when he was talking, like, I said, okay, what are you feeling right now? I was like, I don't know. I go, okay, what's your body doing? And his feet were tingling. His hands were tingling. And I go, okay. And he goes, and my chest is really heavy. And I go, okay, so that's anxiety, right? And he goes, yeah. I go, okay, do you want to switch it? So on the fly, I went, let's do a breathing exercise. Let's just do some breath work. I'm going to introduce you to what this is. And as I was driving away, I was really proud of me just sitting with somebody and helping them. All right, let's do another one. This is fun. Okay, protective. Let's do that one. When was the last time you felt protective? Oh, I know when it is. I felt protective of Jaden when Tom comes home. I don't blame him. Like, you walk into the house and you've been traveling and you're just exhausted. You kind of want just a peaceful situation. And Jade and I, we kind of make messes when Tom's not around. It's not my priority. And so it's not bad. We don't get crazy, but there's things left around. And Tom has a very, very high standard of not having stuff around because his nervous system gets buzzed out when there's too much stuff. So he manages that by telling us we need to manage our stuff. So I was very protective of Jaden yesterday, and I said, before, I'm letting you know, Tom's coming home today, and having your bedroom done would be a really, really good idea today. So I was protective over him. He could choose whether or not he wanted the fuss, you know. I also felt protective of a friend who was struggling. I felt very protective of her. Anybody else protective? Okay, we're gonna do 2 more. I love doing this, by the way. Okay. Ooh, these are all good ones. When's the last time you felt adaptable? When is the last time you felt adaptable? Big one is when there was some money crossover weird stuff with a company I was working with. And my expectations didn't get moving the right way. And I had to be very adaptable. Let's try one more. Oh, okay, here we go. I want to teach you what it is and how to handle an emotion when somebody is sharing with you a negative emotion or you're sharing with a negative emotion. Ready? So disappointed. That was a very universal emotion. When's the last time you felt disappointed? So when somebody shares a lower vibration emotion with you, there's only one thing to say. You don't have to fix it. It's their nervous system to regulate. But what we all want is to be seen, heard, and understood, right? And so to be able to say, I see you, and that is what disappointment looks like to you. I know what that feels like. That's called witnessing. So rather than taking on somebody else's emotion to support them, that's not actually supportive. That just increases your vibration and the vibration gets big. Instead, go, I witness you. I'm not taking this on. I know what this feels like. And I witness you. So what you actually say to somebody is, you know what? I don't have anything to say about this right now. I'm just so glad you shared. Thank you for letting me in. Because when you communicate to somebody else a lower vibration emotion, it's pretty vulnerable, right? And so honoring them for letting you in says you are the one who I'm trying to get emotional intimacy with. And I would love to share for real what's in my heart. Even when it's negative, it can be so sweet, right? When somebody's actually really sharing, even it has to do with you. Now we're in actual communication. If we feel like we have to rescue or defend, or if they throw shame into the mix because you made them feel, that's where we get all hung up. So I felt disappointed. I also felt some shame in this and judgment. My daughter brought her little dog over, brand new little puppy. I'm not a good dog grandma yet. We put him in the backyard, and I have gates like towards the backyard, and there's these holes. And so we did everything we could to block it so that that little cute puppy could stay. And when I came home, the dog wasn't in the backyard. And like we did everything I thought that we could. Everybody's ready to go. We're using the elements that we had around us, cinder blocks and garbage bins and all sorts of stuff. And that little guy, he found a way. I felt disappointed that it hadn't worked. I felt ashamed. I felt worried of judgment. None of that was hers. She didn't throw that at me. That was all mine. That I was very disappointed in myself for not taking more care and not stopping and doing everything possible. And I was bouncing a lot of ideas around in my head about everybody's waiting on us and what can we do, and the girls were excited, and yay. I'm going to say yay because I am looking at it without the shame. I'm looking at it, right? We did find the puppy. I called, I went to all facets of the yard with my phone on, and then there was dread to tell my daughter that the puppy was in the backyard. And when I opened the door, she was already on the phone with somebody who had called her and said, hey, we have your little puppy. So, it wasn't even, we didn't have to hunt. There were enough people out that went, there's a lost puppy, and obviously this is not anybody's. And so she had the caller on with the phone number, and they called. So, puppy was fine. Puppy was fine. I was disappointed that what we had tried did not work. So, we're going to end. But what I want you to know about this exercise is that we start to get aware of what we're feeling. So things like what happened this morning when I was okay last night when I went to bed, and as I was getting dressed, I was feeling all sorts of yuck, and I didn't even know what it was yet. I just felt off, and I was able to go, what am I feeling right now? Oh, I'm feeling like a fraud. I'm feeling like I'm cheating somebody or lying, or I'm bad and I'm in trouble. Why do I feel like I'm in trouble? And then I could identify that email, and now I can go, okay, now that I know that that's the feeling in me, what would I love to feel instead? And I can make a plan, not attack it so that I don't feel it, like I'm just gonna get it done and have all of this panic in me. Instead, I'm gonna go, you know what, when is a situation that was similar in which I felt accomplished and overcoming? And because I've taken those moments to breathe in the positive things, I can find a memory pretty quickly. And when we're sitting in it, I don't know if you noticed, but every emotion that we had, every single emotion that we had, there was actually feeling in your body. Like I can feel disappointment. Heavy, right? In our bodies. When we go back to the memory, our body remembers it, not just the emotion, but the whole vibration can come back up in you. And if we capture the really, really good vibrations, we can go back. We can use those vibrations in our body to create something beautiful and to stay emotionally regulated and not blame everybody around us and not make them responsible. So that is our walk and talk today. Thanks for being here. I'm going to charge forth in my day, get some stuff done. I really love you all.